hot topics of the day. We're going to start with the Warriors and the Blazers from last night.
Absolutely, Teddy. Thanks for having me on. Stepping in for Donnie Seymour and excited about it. We got no Durant, no problems, Teddy, for Steph Curry and the boys. The Warriors come out guns blazing, 116-94 drop of the Portland Trailblazers. Steph Curry dropped 36 points, Teddy, along with 7 assists, 6 boards. Klay Thompson chips in with 26 points, 10 for 24 from the floor. 12 different players scored for Golden State in the win, Teddy. They look good. They look like the best team in the NBA. Early line opener for game 2 on Thursday is Golden State -8 with a total of 218. Golden State closed 7.5-point favorites with a total of 220.5 last night. So interesting line move there towards the under, but I'll throw it over to you, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Blazers last night, they looked a little bit lost on defense. They weren't switching the way the Rockets switched, and they paid for that with the Splash Brothers going nuts. And we saw Portland win a game 7 on the road with Damian Lillard going 3 for 17 from the floor. That ain't happening in this series. You know, they're not going to win or cover point spreads without Lillard being amazing. He was not last night. And the markets, I mean, you talked about it closing 7.5. A lot of books closed 7 last night. People seem amazed that the multiple-time defending champ Warriors can win a game without Kevin Durant. Guess what? Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, pretty good last night. That's going to be a difficult matchup for the Portland Trailblazers to solve.
Teddy, we also got to talk a little MLB here. Astros continuing to terrorize MLB pitching, man. This lineup is hot. They hit righties, they hit lefties, they hit everyone. Astros hit double digits in Detroit to stay scorching hot. Correa, the shortstop, one of the best, Puerto Rico, started the party with a 3-run blast in the first inning. They never looked back off of Ryan Carpenter. Astros belted out 14 hits, struck double digits for the third time in 4 games with the 11-4 win. That is double digits for the third time in 4 games. That's an impressive stat there. Total open 9.5, closed at 10.5, and for good reason, as this one flies over, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, the Astros are a machine right now. And remember, we're talking about MLB. It's not like football. It's not like basketball. You can't turn a winner into a loser based on the point spread. In football, someone's hot, guess what? You know, next week they're laying 14, and they're laying 17, they're laying 21. Eventually, you reach a point where the point spread is too high, and they're not going to cover numbers anymore. You can't do that in MLB because when you win, you win. All you can do as a bookmaker is try to price them high enough so that when they eventually lose, you get some of your money back. So it's been a real difficult situation for the bookmakers with the Astros. They're 10-1 their last 11 ball games, and all 10 wins have come by multi-run margins, all cashing on the run line. Bookmakers not enjoying the Houston Astros' current hot streak.
Teddy, we got to talk a little NBA lottery, and the Knicks can't pull off the frozen ping pong ball trick. You got to tell me about this this ping pong ball frozen, or the envelopes frozen. It sounds like some sketchy stuff going on in back in the day. But either way, we talk NBA draft here. Talking about Zion Williamson going to New Orleans, interesting kind of topic there. And this, you know, the Knicks, they were hoping for the top pick and just getting kind of left in the dark here at the number 3. Looks like tanking doesn't always pay off in the NBA, thanks to these new draft lottery rules and the distribution of odds here, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, look, tanking has never paid off. To the extent of you've never been guaranteed the number 1 pick to have the worst record. I went back and looked at like the 30-year history, the 35-year history of the draft lottery. And yeah, the odds are bad for the worst teams now, but they haven't necessarily usually been all that good. You know, Zion, Morant, Reddish likely to go 1, 2, 3. Everyone's talking about the Knicks and the Pelicans. What about the Grizzlies? They got the number 2 pick and Mike Conley. Morant likely to be sitting there at number 2. I'm interested to see what Memphis does this offseason. The Pelicans obviously get very interesting. Alvin Gentry has a big 3 now, and a team that was in tank and rebuild mode. All of a sudden, the franchise looks very, very different on a Wednesday morning. And it's funny how the Lakers find a way to move up again, defying the odds. But when you look at the Lakers' recent drafts, those top 4 picks, let's see, D'Angelo Russell. Oh, he had a good season in Brooklyn last year. Brandon Ingram, Alonzo Ball, all top 4 picks, none of whom have done a whole lot with the LA Lakers.
Moving on to the NFL, little season team preview here. NFC North, Minnesota Vikings 2019 outlook. Talking the Vikings, 22-1 right now, Teddy, to win the 2019 championship, 10-1 to win the NFC. Their team total, a good one to bet here, 8.5 in terms of smarter bets on season wins rather than futures, in my opinion. We got the Vikings finished up 2018 sitting at 8-7-1, did have that tie. Always interesting to see that. -1 at the end of an NFL team's record there. Finishing second in the NFC South. Vikings loaded up on the O-line. Also looking for Kirk Cousins to have a bounce-back season, the former Spartan, under new offensive coordinator leadership. The Vikings kick off 2019 season, said he facing the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan and company.
Yeah, no, they didn't change coordinators. They have a new running game coordinator, Minnesota, but the head coach is there. The offensive defense coordinators remain. There's a lot of continuity with what the Vikings are doing. And this is a team that had a pretty good statistical profile last year. Plus 0.5 yards per play. That's rock solid. They outrushed their opponents by 0.1 yards per rush. Cousins, we say we need a bounce back season. The guy had a 99.7 QBR last year. Opposing teams are 83.3. That's a top 5 pass defense. He wasn't great. I don't think it was Kirk Cousins' fault for a lot of it. Net 0 in turnovers, no turnover margin last year. A slightly tougher than average schedule a year ago. Almost the same in that regard this year. Minnesota's number one offseason goal. This wasn't a team with a whole bunch of money to spend. They were able to bring in Anthony Barr in free agency. But really, or re-signing him, I should say. But when you talk about the guys who signed, they got Josh Klein. Basically as the offensive guard. And number one pick, of course, in the draft, Garrett Bradbury, the center. So this is a team that really wants to put the emphasis on the offensive line because they have to protect Cousins. On paper, look, Vikings are in win now mode. And this team has a whole lot of talent. I'm not going to sell Minnesota short by any stretch of the imagination. And we say, well, here's a quarterback that didn't live up to expectations last year. He was under pressure every snap last year. If Minnesota's offensive line is fixed, this team can be scary good. Remember, last year, the defense wore down. On paper, this defense looks like a very elite unit.